Welcome back to another episode of I.C.U. Live. I'm your host, Miles Maestro, and right next to me, I got my co-host, Austin Berry. Today is going to be a little bit different. The song that came out this month is called Double Life. So I wanted to dive in because I've never really shared my story or my struggles or my testimony publicly. I wanted to dive into that using kind of the lyrics of the song as a guide, to just kind of take you through what some of it means, why I decided to put it in my story, and how this uh, plays into the full picture of not only double life, but I.C.U. live and identity crisis in general. So we can dive right in.
Let's just dive in.
Yeah.
Let's just get right into it.
He's going to be my little psychiatrist of this.
I'm
So, how does that make you feel?
gonna therapize you.
Yeah. All right.
All right, well, from the get-go. Double life. Why the title?
So, when I first accepted Christ, it was December 22, and I was big time stoner, big time uh, self worshiper, if you will. And I didn't really know how to balance those two things, especially first coming to Christ. I just kind of was like, okay, I'm not going to do anything anymore. I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to smoke weed. I'm not going to do any of that. So let me just kind of ride the straight and narrow path, and got into watching a lot of like religious debates. I had a buddy who was Mormon, and I was kind of curious about Mormonism, kind of curious about Christianity, kind of curious about just what answer is the right answer. All I knew is that my foundation at that point was going to be the Bible because I had just read up to the Gospels, and I was like, this is the truth. So, where does that take me now, and where do I fall in on the spectrum that is Christianity, right? Uh, After very quick and very, I would even say, thorough investigation into Mormonism, I was like, that's not even Christianity. So that's not it. And then I kind of started diving into like different denominations of Christianity, where they stem from, what they mean. And that's when I was like, okay, like I just need to go Reform Baptist. I need to lock in and white knuckle my way to salvation. And very quickly I started to recognize that I was like, okay, well, this is hindsight 2020 me talking. I wasn't conscious of this in the moment, but my identity kind of started to fork into two. Around certain people, I would become like one person, and around another group of people, I was becoming my same old self that I was, because I was trying to maintain friendships and things like that. So, double life kind of started from that fracture right there, that fork in the road, where I was like, okay, I want to be this person, but I don't know how to live that out. So I'll just continue to be this person publicly, and then I'll live however I want to behind closed doors and with like my friends and whatever. So I think I was pretty much off of everything until like probably for about 4 or 5 months. And then I had an incident where I fell into some,
Off of drugs?
yeah, off drugs of
Yeah.
any kind, and just kind of sworn away women. Before I was a believer, I kind of, I was never really a corn addict, I would say. I wasn't exposed to it at a young age. So that's never really had the grip on me like it has on, I would say, most guys. I was kind of very much sheltered and was not really exposed to that till I was like 18 or 19 years old. So that was an easy like let go of. But what was hard to let go of was like, okay, well, I'm on Tinder, I'm on, different dating apps or whatever. How, like, is that a honorable thing to do? And luckily, by the grace of God, right around the time I accepted Christ, I started talking to who's now my wife, and not romantically talking, just actually talking, like by what talking means, not like the Gen Z slang version. We started like talking and conversing, and we had been friends previously, and obviously I was a non-believer, she was a Christian. I'd ask her a bunch of like theological questions or try to stump her or prove Christianity wrong, and she was just always very receptive and kind, and like, no, that's a good question, like it's worth looking into. So I started going to her again with different things and just being like, hey, I actually think that Christianity's true, like, but I didn't know if she liked me. So in the midst of like me trying to figure that out, I fell into a sin, I would say a sexual in nature sin. And that kind of derailed me. I was like, oh, I'm still a broken person. I'm still a sinner. So who am I trying to fool? And why don't I just live however I want? Because obviously I'm uh, messed up anyway. And even when I try to be good, I'm not good.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like where the derail began. And then that's officially where the fork happened.
The fork of
Public life being one way and private life being another.
okay.
And it kind of developed into like a weird secrecy, if you will, like where I was just kind of living separate to everyone else
Mhm.
when I was by myself.
At the time, do you feel like you were aware of that double life, or is it more in hindsight?
I think it's definitely more in hindsight. There were obviously certain things like I would tell people I wasn't convicted when I would smoke weed and things like that. Like, oh, it's for migraines, or it's only every once in a while. When really it was as often as I could get away with it. If I had to be somewhere or do something, I obviously wouldn't do it then. And it wasn't really as regular until like I worked oil field at the time, so I couldn't do it when I'm working that job, for purposes that I feel are obvious. Like I can't fail a drug test. But as soon as that stopped, it was kind of like, oh, okay, well, let me like figure out how can I work this into the Christian
Yeah.
life. And then that's when like my research began of like, can Christians smoke weed? Or, and then people would be, oh no, it says be sober minded. I'm like, you got the context of that all wrong. That's not what that means. And so then just like honestly, really just trying to justify it in different
Yeah, for sure.
ways. And that's where it was like, oh, not only, and if I were honest with myself, which I should have been, but I wasn't, I could have recognized I was convicted by it. And that anytime I did it, it did not encourage me to move closer to God. If anything, it made me feel ashamed and move further away.
Yeah.
So I would say that that's kind of where that began.
And do you feel like at times of, you know, you smoke and you said that you viewed it as being pulled away from God even more during that time? Were you able to, did you have that conviction or would it continue to pull you away?
Did I have conviction about being pulled away?
Yeah.
At times, but again, I think I was just in a constant state of burial where I was like, oh, I need to not worry about that. Like, I'm saved, I'm a Christian, like,
Yeah.
and kind of just sitting, like, doing the opposite of like Romans 6, where it's like, great, should I keep sinning and so that grace may abound? I was
Yeah.
like, yeah. And then Paul's like, by no means. So, I was kind of, and in that time, I was very prideful as a Christian as well. And no wonder because I was just using it for my own means, for my own ego. So I wanted to learn as much scripture as I possibly could. So when my Mormon buddy came at me, I could be like, oh, well, this scripture says this and this scripture says this. And actually you shouldn't believe in all. So it's really just to elevate myself instead of elevate the gospel. And it wasn't until much later that I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Uh, it took like a real humbling to get to that point where I was like, okay, like I'm I'm messing up big time.
Hmm.
Because my blinders were on because I was just focused. I was like, oh, I'm spreading the gospel, but I'm really just, winning arguments, not winning souls.
Okay.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
At what point do you think, because you said you didn't really wrestle much with conviction at first, or
I think I wrestled with it, but it was kind of like a silent wrestle in the sense of like I would just bury it. Be like,
yeah,
no, no, I don't have to worry about that. But it wasn't weighing on me yet
okay,
because it wasn't, I didn't have enough of it buried, I
yeah,
would say.
yeah.
So it was still manageable,
Was
is how I
there
would put it.
was there ever a point where you were like, this is conviction?
Oh, yeah. And then there would be times when I'm going to stop.
Yeah. Oh
And then I would
yeah.
get 2 weeks in and be like, I'm not going to stop. I can't stop.
Yeah.
And then it would get to the point where I'm okay, I'm going to stop again. And it got to the point where I wanted to, you know, ask permission to ask for the blessing to marry my wife. And I was like, I gotta stop like before I do that. Like I gotta be in right mind.
Yeah.
I gotta be good. I gotta be a good person if I'm gonna have a good marriage. And so then I stopped, I would say, I think for like another 4 or 6 months
Yeah.
where I was just like, oh, I'm good now. I don't have to
Yeah.
worry about that. And then I don't remember when the defining moment was, but I was like, oh, it's just one time. And then it took me a while to learn that there's no such thing as just one time for me. Because then it's the next day, I'm like, oh, I actually do need it for this. So I'm just gonna buy it this one time and then it just turned into that. And then that cycle just kept happening. Every single time I'm like, oh, just once. It's another 4 to 6 months before I was, or I don't know if it was always 4 to 6 months, but it was another extended period of time before I was able to be like, okay, I don't need that anymore.
Yeah.
The pressure's too much. And then I think, just my own self-deception just led to be like, oh, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world.
Reflecting is so crazy
Yeah.
on the walk. Like,
Yeah.
because, yeah, I share some similarities where it's just like the truth is revealed to you. Like the
Mm-hmm.
Lord, softens your heart, opens your eyes to it. And it's like, oh man, okay, I'm gonna turn to this. And then it's just like these like trial and error in a way of like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, okay, well, I should do this and I should not do this. Okay, well, let me test the limits of that.
Yep, exactly.
And then, you keep growing. Like the Lord keeps putting conviction on your heart, and it's like, okay, fine, I'll stop. And then the enemy tries to bury you in shame when you
Mm-hmm.
slip up. And it's so crazy. Like hearing
Yeah.
your story, I'm like, oh, I can relate to that.
Yeah.
So your first verse,
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't run away from this, so I tried to hide. I think we kind of already touched on that,
Yeah.
like, is my name in the abyss or is it in the sky?
That's am I going to heaven or hell? Is my name in the
Yeah.
book of life, or am I destined for eternal suffering? And kind of
Yeah.
it's a real fear I think anyone, especially before they're a Christian, has if they're honest with themselves.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's where
Did
that
you
came from.
ever, coming to Christianity, did you ever look at it as, because I think some people come to Christianity with different mindsets at times.
Mm-hmm.
For some, it may be like a pure fear of hell. Like that's what brings them to the Lord.
Yeah.
And then, God's grace can work through that. Like, did you ever have anything other, like, what did you have a fear of hell? Did you have a fear of God?
Um.
Like how was he revealed to you really?
So I definitely had a real fear of hell and demons and Satan. I uh I was obviously raised in church. I say obviously. I don't know if that's obvious. I was raised in church and my dad was a Baptist preacher and then my parents got divorced in 2016 and I just took that as an opportunity to denounce everything and live life exactly how I wanted to live, be my own God. I don't need God. God was never real for me anyway. It was just I was just walking and it was just a byproduct of my parents' walk with Christ. And so when that fell apart, I was like, I don't need this. What has God ever done for me? And so then I started just anything that the Bible spoke against, I was like, oh, I'm totally for. So I started getting a lot into, I'd always wanted to be an actor since I was a little kid. So I started getting into acting and broadcasting and stuff in front of the camera, stuff of that nature. And really connected with a teacher of mine, and he helped put me in positions to like meet other celebrities and stuff like that. Ended up working with this guy named Todrick when I was in high school. After high school, I go to one semester of college, and I'm like, well, this sucks. Like, I just want to be an actor. Like, do I really need to go to college for that? So I, on a whim, just reach out to him because I still had his number. I was like, hey, like, really want to be an actor, trying to figure out what to do, can't stay in college. Like, you got any advice? And he just called and we talked for a while, and he actually gave me like a lot of sound advice. I was like, okay, so like I want to move out there. I need to figure out what to do there. And he's like, oh, well, you can come live with me and work for me, and I can help get you a meeting with an agency. And if you can get signed, like that'll be on them and on you. And if not, like we can just figure it out from there. I was like, awesome. So that semester, I left, moved out to LA, drove out there with my mom, and then she flew back so I could have my car and started working for him and learned a lot. I think growing up in kind of the Bible Belt, Central Texas area, you think the world is one way, and then you get out to a place like Los Angeles, and you're like, it is not the way I thought it was at all. Saw a lot of things, learned a lot of lessons, and came back as fast as I could. Even before, like, that was even well before Christianity was even a thought in my mind, but I was still scared. I always felt like there was a real dark energy out there that I just couldn't escape. I've always had nightmares since I was a kid. Nightmares are worse out there, all types of stuff like that. So I was just like, there's something real. And at that time, I was big into psychedelics as well. And so a few experiences I had on those showed me very quickly that reality is not what it seems. And there's a darker force at work in the shadows of, air type thing. Well before, like, that was my thought before I ever knew that Ephesians called Satan the prince of the air
Yeah.
type stuff. So, like, little foreshadowings and sprinklings into stuff like that where I was, okay, the devil's very real. Then I kind of fell down the research of like conspiracy theories, if you will, of Satanism within Hollywood, the origins of Hollywood, things like that. And I was like, oh crap, like there's way too much coincidence within all this stuff. I'm scared for my life.
Yeah.
Um, then I went through a family situation,
But
which
not coming to God yet.
no,
This is just
just
like
me
fear
recognizing,
of Satan
yeah,
and
fear
his
of Satan.
existence.
And so I was like, oh, I want to be a good person. I can be a good person and not help Satan without the Bible, without Jesus.
Yeah.
Like I can do that on my own. I don't need Jesus to do that for me.
Did you ever question like, well, Satan's real. God's gotta be real.
I
Like
thought
you
God
can't
was
have one
real
without the other. Did you ever think that?
100%. I just thought every religion was pointing to God in a different piece of God.
Okay.
So like there's a metaphor. I'm trying to remember exactly how it's explained, but it's like everyone's blindfolded and touching a different part of an elephant.
Mhm.
And Hinduism's like the tail, and Islam's like the feet, and Christianity's like the trunk, and like all this stuff. Like we're all touching the same thing, just getting different pieces and describing the different piece that we have grasp of. That was my view of like, okay, well,
Okay.
all religions are pointing to the same thing, so let me just pick and choose the good things out of all the religions and just live my life based on those principles, which is really just my principles.
Yeah.
And so I became the basis of my own morality, which very quickly turns sour if you're honest with yourself. I would screw people over
For
and
sure.
feel, oh, well, I had to do that because it's for me and my mental health and all this stuff. Mental health became a big like idol of mine. Like having good relationships with women was a big idol of mine. Drugs were still an idol of mine because I was like, oh, it's just, it's a ticket into bliss and all this stuff. And even in the midst of my Christianity later, I was still wrestling with a lot of
Mhm.
that. like different idols that were hard to let go of. My career in music became a huge idol where I was like, oh, I have to screw this person over because if I don't, my music's not going to be right in this, or I'm going to self-sabotage this relationship because I write horrible music when I'm happy. I need to be depressed and like do all this stuff. So things like that were just, happening all the time. So it got to a point where I was like, oh, Satan's very real. That's my
Yeah.
antidote. And then I think just years passed. I think like 3 or 4 years of that went on, and I was like, dude, I'm a joke. Uh, I'm just not living as a good person. Like, who am I fooling? I'm not a good person. And I was looking around at even people who I used to think were good people, and then as I got to know them more, I'm like, they're not a good person either.
Yeah.
And I looked back, reflected back to like church of people who I thought were good people in church. I'm like, they're not good people either. Look at how they turned on me whenever my family fell apart. And that's where kind of a resentment for
Yeah.
Christianity came. So I was like, that can't be the answer
Yeah.
because I was attributing to Jesus a picture that people had painted, which is just not accurate
Yeah.
of like who he is. I think you mentioned something like that when we were talking to Ben Fine. Like
Mhm.
it's, people put improper view on it.
Yeah.
And so yeah, a very real fear of hell was actually what made me I was like I remember having a horrible nightmare one night and I woke up and I was like I need to read the Bible, I think. I was like I think that that's the only thing. And then my buddy sent me a documentary called Out of Shadows and I
Mhm.
watched that and I just started crying at the end because I was like God's real and if I die I'm going to hell.
That dream you had about reading about, well, you woke up and you
Mm-hmm.
felt like you needed to read the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Was there like what was it about the dream that made you think that?
It just was like very demonic in nature, I think. So I'll describe the dream. It was I was in standing in the middle of I believe it's 4th Street in Santa Monica where there's like a long strip of just like an outdoor mall and there's these benches. It's a bench that's like a concrete table basically, just a place you can sit down. And there was a man standing and like waving me over. And in the dream, I was like a little kid, and he was like waving me over, like, "Come here, come look at this." And so I walk over to like the stone bench, and I'm like leaning over to see at what he's pointing at. And it's like as I lean, with every lean, like my vision starts to blur, or like, those vignettes and pictures where it's like the darkness is around the circles. It was like it was vignetting or something every single time I was trying to look. And I was like, man, like something is obstructing my view. And it was like a little sheen. I think that's what it's called, sheen, like kind of a curtain that you kind of somewhat see through. It was like something like that was kind of just like obstructing my vision. So I'm like trying to
It's vivid.
like, yeah, I'm trying to like look over it. And I'm like, what? I start to notice it's like a curtain of some sort or a sleeve. So I look up, and as I look up, the man that was standing there is like suffocating me and like has this face of death and like hatred and horrible, like just this man wants to kill me. And I realized that the vignetting was because I'm losing oxygen and I
Mm.
can't breathe. And so like my consciousness is starting to sway. And as he's just staring at me with the most horrible glare I've ever seen in my life, all these drums, like these tribal drums, like boom, 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 like kind of starts increasing in volume. And like all these really sensual, like corn sounds start increasing in volume with the drums. And so like just like a big mess of just scary sounds basically. And then I like wake up out of that and I was like, I need God. I was like, I need God. Like that's the only thing that could uh
Do you attribute those dreams to anything?
I don't know. Like that's one that's always haunted me. Um
Like where those dreams came from?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it's like a demonic dream, like
Yeah.
or if it was like foreshadowing that I'm unaliving myself if I continue down this path,
Hmm.
or trying to unalive the version of me that's still childlike and curious about the world. Like I don't know. I don't really know what the purpose was. All I know is that I woke up out of that and I was like, I'm reading Daniel. I heard he has dreams. And then I realized it was actually Joseph, but I guess Daniel did have some visions.
Yeah.
But I was thinking of Joseph and saying Daniel, so I read the book of Daniel and I was like, crazy. I felt like I was gonna be Nebuchadnezzar,
Hmm.
like dumb, um, and like a beast of the field.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where that fear came from. And then I was like, okay, I need to read the Bible. And that's when I just started from the beginning. And I don't remember, it was still a year or so after that, or maybe 2 years before I ever really accepted it because I kind of just dilly-dallied my way through the Bible.
It seems weird that having that dream, not having a belief in God, and then having that dream and then just being like, I'm gonna read the Bible.
Yeah. Something,
Like,
yeah, I think,
you know,
yeah, proverb, I think it's a proverb talks about, raise your children in the way of God and they will not depart from it.
mhm,
I think that there's some truth to that, even in my scenario, even though I was raised that way and departed from it. I don't believe I was saved, but I believe that the principles were still instilled and there was a sense of comfort, like when you're away from home and long for home.
yeah,
Like that, there was something about the Bible that felt like home and felt safe and secure. So coming back to it with a new lens of seeing how dark and demented the world can be was like, no, this is a safe place. I was taking this for granted.
yeah,
And again, that's kind of a hindsight thought, but I think that that's
yeah,
really
for
what was
sure.
starting to transpire at that time.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so talk about Double Life, your song.
Yeah.
When you look at your music as a whole, do you feel like your whole catalog is a double life?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, even if you look at, so I released a long string of singles and they ended up being the project, the very first like mixtape, I would call it. It wasn't really an album, it was just a collection of unrelated songs.
Mhm.
But I mean, half of them on that are explicit and
Which one is this?
Melody Lane. So I actually lived on a street called Melody Lane in East Dallas after I came back. I came back from California, lived with a buddy. We kind of bounced around living with my mom, his parents, and then an apartment, or his dad and stepmom,
Mhm.
and then an apartment. And it was in that apartment, it was an old retirement home that got turned into an apartment complex. Also, just side note, riddled with bugs, like just insane amount of
Yeah.
bugs. I am like immune to bugs now.
Oh, I
Uh,
remember you telling me about
yeah.
this place. Yeah.
So that was on Melody Lane, and that was really where I started to make. I took the Kanye approach, is what I call it, because he was making like 3 beats a day
Mhm.
in the summer, and I was like, I need to make five. So I was just making beats on beats on beats on beats on beats and writing songs, and most of them are horrible, but it's you got to turn on the faucet and let all the dirty water flow before
Yeah.
all the clean water starts flowing. So my music really kind of turned into that. And even at that time, by the time I picked up music, I was like spiritual. Like that's what I would say. Is when I was pulling at stuff, making my own morality, pulling stuff because every religion's pointing the same thing. My first music was like, I'm gonna make music that has a deep message, but is explicit and is like hip hop and is like, tells is unique, like really just glorifying myself,
Yeah.
but with a good message, if that is even a thing.
So that's
That
when
was,
you first started like making beats and all that, right?
mm-hmm,
Well, I'm sure doing that though, like that's where you found your sound
absolutely,
and learned how to do everything.
mm-hmm.
So, I mean, okay, with you think how would you describe your music?
Like sound wise or like message wise or
Let's do genre because everyone loves a genre.
okay. I've been told because I got a buddy who's big into like subgenres and all this type of stuff of like metal music and
Yeah.
pop music. I've been told it's like alternative industrial pop.
Mm,
So I had never
okay.
listened to Nine Inch Nails, but a lot of people compare like
Okay.
the textures and stuff within the
Sure.
songs to like Nine Inch Nails, especially the stuff that's coming out this year. A bunch of the people I have shown pre-shown the album before it comes out in October, they've been like Trent Reznor's all over this. And I was like, who's that? And so then they're like, you got it. I also got commented on it. Someone commented on one of my YouTube videos, like, you're a Trent Reznor wannabe. And I was like, what does that mean? I don't even know who that was. So I had to look it up and I was like, oh, it's Nine Inch Nails. Let me listen to it. And then I started listening. I was like, I mean, thank you, I think. Like,
Yeah.
there's some of the stuff where I was like, oh, yeah, I see that. And then he would start singing or being scary. And I was like, I don't know if that's really like Reznor. I'm going for it all. Uh, so I would kind of put it in that ballpark. I really love like spaciness and stuff like that. So like Labyrinth and Billie Eilish were
Yeah.
big, like just their depth and textures were a big inspiration to me. So I kind of always tried to maintain some of that. Um, yeah, I would just say atmosphere maybe.
Yeah.
So
And
pop
like,
though is what I would say normally, or alternative.
yeah. And like lyrically, because you mentioned that some people say your music is depressing.
Yeah,
I
I've been
wouldn't call
told
it
that.
depressing because I don't listen to it. I am biased though. Like
Yeah,
I know you, so like sometimes I hear things I'm like, oh, bro, fire,
yeah, yeah.
So it's hard for me to take the outside perspective, like
Hmm.
if I didn't know you, but trying to do so, I think you can definitely hear like an existential crisis
Yeah.
for sure. But I think that's what you're going for.
Absolutely. I've always like it's always the lyrical content's always been existential in nature.
Yeah.
I used to joke that I would one of my early shows, I would be like, "Oh, I'm Miles Maestro, Miles with the Y, because I'm not focused on I'm here screaming why." And I thought that that was so hard. Uh, I don't
That
ever
was the
use that.
maestro
Yeah,
slogan.
that was why? Why God? Why me? Like just always asking why and like being existent. So like that was a running joke, but I mean there is still some truth to that. Like I was
Yeah.
always very there's more to reality than meets the eye, and I want my music to talk about that because nobody's talking about that. Why is nobody talking about it? It's all I can focus on.
This is before Christianity,
Well,
huh?
before, yeah.
So, like, if you're trying to inspire that conversation, what did that even look like?
Like inspire an existential conversation
Yeah.
without Christianity.
Yeah.
I mean, it's foolishness at looking back, but I mean, it was always like, oh, I would borrow from Christianity. Oh, it's like Moses at the burning bush. You know, at that time, like in it's probably like somewhere near Afghanistan or the Middle East or something. There's just a lot of mushrooms growing. Like that's the type of stuff I would say. Like he probably took some form of mushroom.
Yeah.
And the burning bush, like people on DMT, they see burning bush type stuff all the time, and like that was like the type of stuff I would talk about and be like, there's more to reality. There's more to the Bible. There's more to everything. Like,
It sounds like an existential trip.
yeah, literally. Yeah. I was just always like tripping balls. Literally. So it was just very, but again, it'd be like self-centered in nature because I'm like, oh no, you don't get it, bro. I get it.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm your
Yeah.
guru. Like,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, so it's dumb looking back, but I thought it was so profound at the
Yeah,
time.
for sure.
Um, yeah, I mean that's all I would say about that, to be honest.
For sure. Well, moving on to your lyrics. All right, so there's one.
Okay.
Why is it I can't admit that I don't want to try to suffocate all my sin? No, that's not it. Oh gosh, I don't know where it is. But second verse, I don't recognize myself. How'd I end up in this situation? Is that just
Yeah, I think that was like at the moment where I started to notice the fracture
of
of just like living a private life one way and a public life another way.
yeah,
I was actually out in New Mexico when I wrote that part because I was like, dang, like I want to be, I want to live my life for God, but I don't know how to do that. And I was like looking in the mirror and just thinking about like some of my past sins and stuff. And I was like, dude, like, who am I? Like, I'm here trying to convince myself I'm a good person, but I'm not, and I feel horrible. So that's kind of like I didn't recognize myself. Even after accepting Christ, there was still like you said, it's like the devil was hounding me with like guilt and shame for just who I had been and who I
yeah,
was. And even especially the sins that I committed after I claimed to be a Christian. Because I was like, dude, I just spent the whole day like talking to someone about God, and then I do this, like who does that? Who
yeah,
like I just not only did I basically lie, again, that pride kind of seeping out of being like, oh man, I'm such a bad person and I feel bad, so I am bad, like feelings based type thing. But at the same time, I was like, I also just painted the gospel in a bad way because I'm telling, someone really it was, I'll just speak plainly, it was a girl that I got with basically. I was telling her, oh yeah, I'm a Christian now, all this stuff, blah blah blah. And then I go and commit acts with her that later that night. I'm like, I wake up the next day and I'm like, gosh, like who am I? Like what? Like that doesn't make any sense. If I'm a real Christian guy, why would I do that?
hmm,
So that was kind of where that I don't recognize myself because I remember that day I was like, I don't recognize myself. Who am I trying to fool?
yeah. And talking about like mentioning shame earlier, when sin would pop up, when stuff like that, the shame and the lies speak loud. Did you ever question whether or not, like, I guess if your faith was real?
Yeah. I think especially because I was so feelings based and like
Yeah.
emotionally based at that time, on the days where I felt like a good Christian, I'm good. And the days where I'd wake up and feel like a bad Christian, I'm bad. I'm still not saved.
Mm,
Christ's sacrifice wasn't enough. Like I wasn't saying that, but like that's where my mind
right.
was.
Yeah.
In hindsight, I recognize that that's what it was. Oh, so if it's up and down with my feelings, then is my salvation based
Mm,
on my feelings? No, it's my salvation's found because Christ died for my sins and I accept his gift. That has nothing to do with whether I'm feeling like I'm having a good day or a bad day. But I
yeah.
didn't recognize that then.
Yeah.
So definitely dependent on self.
Like performative
Absolutely.
back then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And okay. No, I get that. How do you think in your walk though you were able to kind of combat that? I know obviously the realization of like, well, it's not about me. Like, I can't perform.
Mm-hmm.
I'm accepting Christ's gift, but
Mm-hmm.
like, there's some practicality in that of like in your own walk that you had to grow in your faith and be like,
Yeah.
okay, this is how I'm combating this.
So I think first it was kind of like I mentioned, at first it was like white knuckle removal.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm just not going to associate. But especially in my living situation at that time, I was surrounded by it all the time.
Mm,
So I would have good days. I'm like, oh, I don't need that. And then I'd come home and like, open my door and I'm like, actually,
yeah.
let me go. Like, just immediately trusting my thought and not taking that thought captive and giving up the scripture. I don't need that. No, I do need that because I want to feel something. So practicality started off as just removal. Well, then removal didn't work. So I was like, okay, I'll just live in it. So then I was living in it. And then the shame just started building up, and I started recognizing I was actually drifting from God in that sense, like from a
because of your
relational
shame.
sense. Yeah, it's like if you're keeping something from someone, or uh like if you have an estranged relationship with someone, you kind of avoid them.
Yeah.
Even when you're around them, you avoid them. So I was still going to church and doing all this stuff, but like my heart was still kind of avoidant to it.
Okay.
And it really wasn't until I started getting it, because I mean, I would have go through months of good, and then weeks of bad, and then months of bad, and then weeks of good. Like
Yeah.
it was kind of just all over the place. And it wasn't until I started going to premarital counseling where I was like, boy, am I tripping. Because I didn't want Christian friends. I thought Christian dudes are weird. I think I think we've talked about that.
Yeah.
Like there's something about, I don't know, there's just something about church that's cringy to me, especially at that time. So I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't want that. But then I started going to premarital counseling because one, that was the deal. I had to um start watching Dave Ramsey, and then yeah, I'm horrible with finances. My wife's a wizard, so shout out to her. I just give her all my money. I don't touch it. And even then, I'm like, so you think I could get a couple bucks? Anyway, watching Dave Ramsey and then do premarital counseling. That was like the you can marry my daughter if
Yeah.
uh or please do these things.
Yeah.
So did those against my own will, really. I would say the first two sessions were like that. I was like, oh, I don't want to do this. Like,
Yeah.
and then I just was like, every week we were going through this book called Tying the Knot. I was getting my mail read. I was like, oh, dude, this sucks. Like, and then that's when I was like, I can't perform. I can't perform. Like, I cannot be on. I cannot live this life and go talk to these people one on one and lie to their face.
Yeah.
So I was like, I need to, God help me. I can't do it. Like that was the first time where I was like, I can't do this. God, if it's going to get done, you have to do it. So that was the first turning point where it stopped being a white knuckle, I can do this. God, give me the strength. It was like,
Mhm.
I don't have the strength and I'll never have the strength. You got to take the reins because it's not going to work. And by the grace of God, then I would say is when my eyes started to open about stuff. Because then I think right before that, we went to uh, a membership class for our church. And I was like, crap, like they want me to get baptized. I can't get baptized, like living a double life like this. Like,
Yeah.
so that was another thing that happened right around that same time
Mhm.
where I was like, God was just like, okay, well, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. And started to really open my eyes to a lot of my shortcomings, I would say. And that's when I was like, okay, I gotta take this seriously.
Yeah.
I think that there was a piece of me that felt like I had time. You know what I mean?
Time to like dabble in all
Yeah,
the
like,
stuff.
oh, I'm
Once
dabbling
once
all
I
the,
get baptized,
yeah, then
but
I'll slow
yeah, you're
down.
still trying to like walk that line
Yeah,
of like, I
exactly.
still want
Yeah,
this,
it's like when
but
you're first dating, so how far is too far?
yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
exactly.
Well, maybe
Let
if
me
you
push
start,
those boundaries.
yeah, it's like,
Yeah,
so I mean, that's human nature or sin nature, I would say,
yeah.
is you just kind of want to test that line. And so it was right around then where I was like, I'm done testing this line. I need to get as far away from this line as possible.
Cause is it because like you had already gotten to the point where you had are okay, so that point of like being near to getting baptized,
Hmm.
what is the time frame from that
To when this
to
started happening, I'm trying to think. I think,
becoming a Christian? Like, what was that time frame?
oh,
Because I'm
getting,
sure during that whole time frame, you're like, I'm gonna test it, I'm gonna test it, or make excuses like, oh, I'm good. Like,
so like from being saved to being baptized,
yeah,
saved December 22, baptized November 26. or sorry, 25,
Okay, 3 years.
just about three
Yeah.
years. Um,
So it wasn't really a moment of,
Never. No,
it was just this
definitely.
compounding walk, like the
Absolutely.
Lord's conviction along the way. It
Yeah,
was just like,
absolutely.
dude, I've tried testing this line forever, and he just,
I'm getting no bites. I'm sitting
yeah.
there with a fishing rod. I'm like, I've been fishing here for a while. Ain't nothing coming around this pond. Guess I'm done. We'll move somewhere else. Like that's
Yeah,
kind of how it was, to be honest. I was like, man, I just gotta. Wow. What's the definition of insanity? It's trying the same thing over and
yeah,
over and over, expecting a different result, and relying on myself was my insanity to bear.
yeah,
I just thought,
yeah,
oh, I'll
really.
just try it differently. Oh, well, I can do it this way, and just, just trying to work my own magic.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And
And
it's just
it never
cyclical
pays off.
because
Yeah.
then you fail and then you feel
Well, it
miserable.
might work for a day or a week or a month,
I feel like it never did
and
for
then it
me.
never, yeah. All
Dude,
right,
like
oh yeah.
immediately after I'd be like, what am I doing, dog?
Yeah.
Like,
I guess the bearing is what made it feel like it was working.
yeah,
Because then, I mean, that type of stuff started to play, like sin started to seep. You know
yeah,
what I'm saying? Where it was like, oh, I'm living one way and, well, I'm not telling anyone about it. And then I eventually told my girlfriend about it, and she was like, "Oh, so like, who are you?" And that was like really devastating because I was like, "Dang,
yeah,
I've been like performing for her, really. I need to like be honest. How can I be honest with her if I'm not being honest with myself?"
yeah,
I think that's ultimately where it was like, okay, I need to get better. So then that started working out. Well, then I started not doing any like weed or anything because I told her I wouldn't. And then I just start getting mean and we start fighting a lot and all this type of stuff. And then I was like, dang, I used to think I was like this chill stoner, like never mad about anything, don't have any opinions. And I realized that I was just numbing all my
yeah,
opinions about stuff. So then coming up out of that, I'm like, actually, yeah, I don't want you to do that. Or actually, I don't like that. And like,
yeah,
just where it kind of started to like my pride started to show itself in different ways instead of having this pride of being like, oh, I'm chill or oh, I'm mad about this. Let me just go smoke weed and then I won't be mad anymore.
yeah.
It was like, oh, actually, hey, deal with this.
Hmm.
And that's when I was like,
This is leading up to marriage.
yeah, leading up to even that part was more leading up to proposal, if I remember correctly. I'm trying to,
Okay.
and then after the proposal, I was like, okay, lock in. But then it kind of turned into like, okay, I can't lock in.
Yeah.
So like,
Isn't it funny how we try to set these like milestones of like, well, because of this, I'm gonna lock in,
yeah.
or at this time, then I'll lock
Yeah,
in.
it's like when you're 3 months out from summer, I'm eating right.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
and then you go out to eat at Chewy's and you're like,
Yeah, eating all the jelly bellies.
oh, or the Jelly Bellies. Yeah, you already know. It's the Jelly Bellies and the chimichangas. Yeah, no, they get you.
Deadly duo.
I can't not eat 4 baskets of chip with the jalapeno ranch. What are we talking about right now? Yeah, it's kind of like the same principle in that.
Yeah,
So it was definitely something that was hard to deal with in that sense.
yeah. Um, there's one line in particular in your song you talk about. Here we go. This one. Because as much as I know your story, I don't think we've ever talked about anything like this.
Hmm.
So, but can't face myself, so I just face a blunt. Obviously, we know that you were a
Hmm.
stoner.
Yeah.
So while trying not to contemplate a gun.
Yeah. So I think at that time, during the spiritual aspect, and I don't talk to many people about this a lot, um, just because I know that there's people who have dealt with it more, I would say, on the nose.
Mhm.
So I don't really broadcast this as part of my struggle, though it was definitely relevant at that time. I was just I would contemplate unaliving a lot,
Mhm.
only because I was like, again, it was kind of more of a pride thing. I was big into like Nirvana and Mac Miller when he passed and like some of this stuff, and I was like, oh, like if I'm gonna be a great when it comes to music,
Mm,
I gotta unalive young. And so that was kind of like again, it was less driven. I mean, there was some depression there as well, just because like I really truly feel like when you're disconnected from God, then you're disconnected from purpose. You're disconnected from a life source.
yeah,
So what is there to live for if not yourself? And if you're living for yourself and you're not happy, then like what's the point? It's like a toaster trying to be a vacuum cleaner. Like you're just not living in the way you're created to
yeah,
live. And so I was like, man, what's the point? If there's a point, if I need to be a musician, if I need to be an actor, I need to I need to go out with a bang.
mm,
And so that's kind of where that line comes from of just that was always something I was very much dealing with of I want to be remembered.
mm,
And the only way to be remembered is to go out in some devastating way like that.
yeah,
And I would say that that was one of the things that as soon as I got saved, actually, no, I would say for the most part, that idea kind of vanished.
mhm,
But again, it's the same principle of like, oh, I'm in a good spot right now. I need to self-sabotage so I
yeah,
can be in a bad spot to write good art. I think the thing that always held me back was like I haven't written my best thing yet.
yeah,
So if I go out now, like I'll never get to that point. And I'm like, I
mhm,
haven't written anything worthy enough to depart from yet.
yeah,
Like so that was, you know, kind of a good thing. And by the time I got saved, I was like, okay, I'm tripping.
yeah,
Like I just like that's not really what I need. I mean, I still struggled with depression and things like that, but that pride started to take different forms and it was less of like music, career, remembrance and life. It more started taking the form of debates and I want to show people that
yeah,
Christianity's right. I'm going to be the one converting people like that was kind of the way the pride took a new form.
okay. So like that that line of
Hmm.
contemplating again, it was more of the cultural hype around celebrities,
Yeah, celebrities and
like
specifically musicians.
the
Yeah.
27 Club.
27 Club,
Yeah,
absolutely. Jimi Hendrix. Like, I mean, a lot of those people were overdoses, right?
yeah,
So we don't know for sure that they are intentional.
right.
But, you like people like Kurt Cobain, depending on where you stand on those theories, there's a lot of different people saying a lot of different things.
Yeah.
I would Courtney love to know the truth.
So it wasn't, those thoughts weren't from maybe like a suppression or a finality to things. It was more of that
Yeah, I don't think
being in the
that
music realm.
I think I was too cowardly to ever go full 100 on that route
Uh,
just because again that fear of hell was already there.
mhm.
And even if I wasn't 100% conscious of it, I was like, I don't know what the afterlife holds, but for someone like me, it's nothing good.
Yeah,
So there was never a commitment to go that far, and it definitely wasn't from like any trauma or anything like
mm,
that. It was more just like my life sucks. Could that make it better? Would that make my art better? Because I
yeah,
think, remorse often forces people to like, anytime a celebrity dies, their movies or their music goes
right.
number one. I was like, that's the only way to get my stuff heard, probably. And it's just kind of cowardly. I think
Yeah,
every single time I followed it to its final form, I was like, nah. So by the grace of God, I had that consequential thinking because a
yeah,
lot of people, never get to those thoughts.
Hmm.
because it's too late by the time that they think about all the consequences.
Right.
Because something like that doesn't just affect you, it affects the world around you.
Hmm. So in your music, like you talk a lot about this existential crisis, some depression, drugs, all that. Do you think do you think you're able to take it to that place when you're writing, but also not let that place absorb you, if that makes sense? Like emotionally,
Yeah.
mentally, like to think back on, walks of life and um periods of a mental depression, whatever it may be. Like, are you able to go there, channel that, but not let that absorb you?
So I kind of have a two-sided answer to this. Me, no. I'm not able to take it there and not let it bother me.
Mm.
I am a very big advocate for starting my day off with scripture first thing before I touch any technology, before I do anything. I need to be in God's word. And why? It's because I think only he can do that work through me to where it doesn't deflate me in that sense. And if I don't do that, well then if I step into that realm at all, I'm going to be depressed. I'm going to fall into sin, whether that's anger and pride or wanting to smoke weed or something like that, which honestly at this point the desires kind of fully departed because I've channeled that into other things of like, okay, well, I'm big into writing or big into other things like this that just, and then also recognizing the wake that it leaves and understanding I cannot do it just one time. So therefore, I just can't do it. So when it comes to stuff like that, I don't feel like I can step into that mindset unless I've kind of had the pre-antidote.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's like kind of, you know, if I'm a snake tamer, I don't know if this is something they do, but I'm injecting myself with the anti-venom before I step into the venomous
Yeah.
pit, basically. And that's kind of the only way I can do that because even with stuff I write today, I can emotionally drain me, but I don't find my identity in it any longer is the difference. And I
Hmm.
feel like that's the thing that Christ has delivered me from because my identity is found in Christ. When I go to these places, it's more of sightseeing and recording as opposed to being it is immersed in it again, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
It's more of a I recount those things to remember because if I don't remember them, I'm more likely to fall into them again.
Yeah. I
So
agree.
it's kind of a worthy sacrifice to step into that mindset, to remember the darkness of it, and then by the grace of God and by his word and by his spirit, I feel like I'm protected from it in that
Mm.
sense.
Yeah.
So,
Definitely.
which is definitely no action of my own. So,
Yeah. All right. So at the end of the road, I was looking for home. I was begging for more, but didn't know where to go.
mhm.
At the end of the road, I abandoned my soul, trying to live for the gold and ended up losing both.
So
So you lost your soul and the gold.
yeah, lost both, which is really just saying I lost that spirituality sense.
Hmm.
Following the bad side of myself to its final form, I would lose everything. I
Yeah.
would lose my salvation, my soul, and
Yeah.
every material thing I'm trying to hold on to already. So that's kind of what gold represents in this sense. It's not
Yeah.
just like money, it's anything materialistic or anything in physical form that we find value here on earth.
Yeah.
That's really what gold represents in all of my writing because this specifically is a callback to two of my songs previously. It's a
Hmm.
callback to home. So Home was one of the first songs I did where I had like a horrible panic attack on July 4th. And long story short, uh, it was the first time again that fear of hell and Satan and demons really started to manifest and push me towards God. Really, the way it was pushing me towards God was me recognizing I don't have it all figured out, and there's something way deeper going on here. So where does God, what's God's role in that? So that the lyrics to that chorus are I'm on the shore, I'm at the end of the road. I know I need more to save my soul. I've been feeling alone, I can't stay afloat. If there's a will, there's a way. If there's a God in this place, can he guide me home? So like I'm on the shore, I'm at the end of the road. That's where that at the end of the road, I was looking for home.
Mhm.
So calling back to that title, I was looking for home. I was begging for more. I know that I need more to save my soul. I was begging for more, but didn't know where to go. And then it's at the end of the road. So it's saying that again, I abandon my soul. I know that I need more to save my soul, thinking I have anything to do with saving my soul when really
Yeah.
it's only Christ's sacrifice on the cross that had anything to. So I don't need more. I just need to recognize where the value is. And I'm trying to find the value in myself when the value only lies outside of myself. So I abandoned my soul, trying to live for the gold, ended up losing both. I ended up losing both because this is a hypothetical of me taking it to that final form
Mhm.
when really, by the grace of God, I never did take it to that final form. But it's kind of staring from the outside in. And the whole theme of identity crisis, as you'll notice in the music video for Lonely Soul, is a moment where the maestro takes a pill and he's kind of just the pills represent my substance dependence on at this time in my life. He starts zoning out, and as he passes out he goes up into heaven per se. It's like Gandalf the White type stuff. It's like our reborn version, and that reborn version pushes me back down. Really, that's representing that I felt like God was giving me another chance and saying like your time is not done yet. Like you still have my purposes to fulfill, even if you think your purposes are at its end. So that's why I say I ended up losing the gold and all that stuff because it was like I really didn't lose anything other than my own will, which actually ended up being for the best thing because now I'm trying to live my life according to God's will instead of my own will. And
Mhm.
just that my prayers are always to have God renew my mind and my eyes to be focused on that and not on me.
Mm. That's kind of a bar, bro.
You think?
I didn't lose anything but lose my own will.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to use that in
All
something.
right. Let me make a note of that.
So yeah, so the last one we went over and it ends with I live a double life, I live a double life.
Yeah.
So do you still feel that way?
No, I really don't. I mean, obviously there are times where it's like, you know, I'm not going to live sinless on this side of heaven.
Hmm.
So there's obviously times where I resort back to sin. But in those times, the difference is one, my identity is not in those things. Two, I have a good system of people I can go to and talk to about that. So like you, my wife, I should have said my wife first, but like my wife,
Yeah.
you, a few other friends that I have with that are like-minded and dependent on God, not self-dependent, people who will point me back to the truth. I have this good community of believers around me that I can kind of take this type of stuff to, and they're going to shoot me straight. They're going to shoot me right back to the Bible. So that is another piece of that. And then one, and this would say, I would say is the biggest thing. My life just isn't dependent on me anymore. When at every point, even for a long portion of that, I'm a Christian now, life, that walk, like you said, it was still dependent on me and my feelings. And my worth is found in what I'm doing when now I recognize that it has nothing to do with what I'm doing. It has everything to do with what he did already. And when I recognize that, I've gotten big into Second Corinthians, where it's talking about holding every thought captive, casting down imaginations.
I know that's been repetitive on here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
seriously. And it's just surrendering every thought to the obedience of Christ.
Mhm.
that is so important to me because in the times where I would cave and then I started feeling guilt and shame, I'm letting those feelings grow and allowing it to fester into more sin. When really now the critical difference I would say that I can look back and say is a difference now is I'm taking those feelings and I'm holding them and taking them up to Christ and just saying, I don't even know if I'm saying is the right word. It's more recognizing that he already paid for those. And I don't need to drown in the sin and the guilt and the shame. I just need to remember what his word says and remember the work he's already done. So it's replacing my thoughts with the word of God has been the most critical thing. And therefore, because of that, when I recognize my life isn't my own, how can I live a double life?
Mm-hmm.
Because instead of me trying to go one direction and God's trying to pull me another direction, if I recognize this life doesn't even exist, so I just need to fall in form, then I just start moving towards whatever God's will is for my life. So that's, people ask a lot, oh, how can I pray for you and stuff like that. Anyone listening to this too, if you want to pray for me, this is what I always ask for, just that my thoughts, desires, that my heart breaks for what breaks his, that just everything in my life desires to live his will and not my will.
Yeah.
Because that's been the only thing, that's been the only difference, and that's been the only thing that's ultimately changed my life completely
Yeah.
was just letting him take the reins.
Yeah. Being in that, there's granted I may be guilty of that being emotional,
Hmm.
but like whenever times I feel like I'm locked in and like my relationship with the Lord is right, there's no better feeling because I feel like nothing matters.
It's a
Like
peace like
it
no
is,
other.
it's
Yeah.
peace. Like
Yeah.
to heck with happiness because that's just moments.
Hmm.
Like the peace is like anything can happen and I'll be okay with it.
Hmm.
So
Even the
absolutely.
bad stuff.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like okay, Lord's
Yeah,
got a plan
I
with
think
it.
that's another piece of that is in the times where I've fallen into sins, instead of beating myself up or allowing it to make me run away from God, it's more now I run to God,
Yeah,
surrender it to him and be like, what are you trying to teach me in this?
yeah,
Why? Like, because obviously if God wanted to, he could snap his fingers. I'd never struggle with anything again. So if I'm still struggling with stuff, what is he trying to teach me through that and for what purpose? I don't always need to understand his will. I just need to accept his will, and understanding comes along the way.
yeah,
There's been tons of things in my life that happen, and I'm like, "Oh, this is the worst." And then I look back and I'm like, oh man, that was the best possible thing that could have happened.
yeah.
So just in the height of the motion, in the fog of war, it's like, okay, what good is going to come from this?
Mhm.
Because before something bad would happen, I'm gonna be like, oh, awesome, new song. Like, but now, like,
Yeah,
because that's where my identity
right.
was. It's like, oh, things aren't going along. I don't have a good song. I haven't written a good song in a while. I need something bad to happen to me.
Yeah,
But now it's like, what is God trying to teach me in this? And how can I use this lesson to further the kingdom?
beautiful. So would you say that that is the other side of Miles Maestro's music?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's the on the side of the fence that actually is greener.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's where we're at now. And that started with false idols. And
One of my absolute favorites,
oh,
bro.
thank you, bro.
I love that song.
Yeah, so that song, that album and its whole thing, which
Yeah.
is, it's a little bit shorter, it's only seven. And then the other tape, Aim for the Saints.
Mm,
Because I would qualify Melody Lane and Aim for the Saints as like mixtapes. They're just an assortment of songs.
mm,
Aim for the Saints is actually every song that got cut from this project.
yeah.
Uh, except for No Love in the Wild, because we just made that on a whim on TikTok Live, which was so fun.
Yeah.
And then the other one was um, Identity Crisis is the immediate follow-up to False Idols.
Mm,
So, and then you heard it here first. We have another project following that that also plays into the same kind of storyline that we've been building.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, that kind of leads me to my next question.
okay.
So, what's next?
So obviously false idols is kind of the struggle. And at this point where we're at, double life in uh, identity crisis, we got a few more songs to come. So next is Fear. And that's a song about recognizing that, oh, wow, I've lived a double life and I recognize the dangers of it. I need to face my fear and speak up about it
Hmm.
and bring light to the darkness because it's not darkness if light is shining on it.
Yeah.
So take all my sins, take all of my wrongdoings in life, and let's just put them on blast and let God work with them in whatever way He wants to. And so facing that fear, it's kind of poetic that this is what this episode ended up being because it kind of goes right into that.
Hmm.
Of I was scared to publicly be a Christian. I was scared to,
Yeah.
you know, uh, to lose fans even or lose friends over being all in for God. But I think at this point in my life and at this point in the project, they're kind of walking hand in hand right now. It's like, I don't care anymore. Like, if it's not my life, what do I got to lose? You know what I'm saying? If it's God's life, why don't I just, like you said, I'm always so much better off when I'm just living in
Yeah.
that peace that He provides.
Hmm.
Anytime I try to take it my own route, it's quickly derailed and I lose that. So if I just stick to that and again, I think even being able to stick to that's a grace in itself.
Hmm.
But that grace has allowed me to face my fear and speak up in that. So fear is next.
Yeah.
And I won't go any further than that on the timeline, but there's a lot more. We got stuff scheduled out till 2027 right now. So
Beautiful.
yeah.
Well, with that, bro, I've told you before, I'm proud of you.
Thanks, bro.
Like, dude, just knowing you for like what, a little over a year, maybe.
I'd say we've been close for over a year, but I feel
Yeah.
like we've known each
We've known
other
each other maybe
yeah,
maybe a
maybe
couple
yeah,
since
maybe
we
2 years.
first met,
Yeah.
but like getting to know you more and more and just like seeing the Lord work in your life. Like I've seen it. I've seen the fruit and I'm proud of you, bro.
Thanks,
I
bro.
love your creativity. I love what the Lord's doing in your life. Keep sharing your passion because I get to enjoy it too.
Okay, bet.
So love it, bro.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, guys. Well, that concludes I.C.U. Live Double Life episode. We'll see you next time.